Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is the September 13th regularly scheduled meeting of the Schertz Planning and Zoning Commission. Meeting is called to order at 6 p.m. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 commissioners present. We have a full quorum. We will be able to conduct business. Item number 3 on the agenda is hearing of residents. Bear with me as I read this, please. This time is set aside for any person who wishes to address the Planning and Zoning Commission. Each person shall fill out the speaker's register prior to the meeting. Presentations will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Discussion by the commission or any item not on the agenda shall be limited to statements of specific factual information given in response to any inquiry, a recitation of existing policy in response to an inquiry, and/or a proposal to place the item on a future agenda. The presiding officer during the hearing of residents portion of the agenda will call on those persons who have signed up to speak in the order they have registered. We have 4 public hearings on the agenda for specific projects. You can make comments at both now and when we're conducting business on each individual item. Anyone, I've got 3 names on the list. Any person that signed the list, do you wish to make any comments at this public hearing, or do you want to wait until your individual item comes up?
Comment to my individual item because I think they're going to make a presentation.
Okay. All right, I see no one wishing to make comments at this portion of the meeting. So do I need to open it and close it? Help. Okay. Go to item number 4, the consent agenda. Item A is minutes from the August 23rd, 2023 regular meeting. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Thank you. No discussion on consent agendas, so I will call for the vote. Please register your votes. Yep, can I vote? I can't vote. All the votes have been cast. Publish the vote. Okay, item number 5 on the vote passes 5 with 1 abstention.
Mr. Bro,
Yes.
so there's 4, 5, 6, 7 of you, and we only had 6 votes. So I'm not sure, maybe IT, if something happened with the voting panel.
It wouldn't register my vote for some reason. Hmm? I can vote, right? I think so.
Can vote, yes.
Yeah, it wouldn't take it. I don't press this one.
You can't press that one. You have to press commissions. Because you're adapting this in right now. So
Okay, moving on. Item number 5, public hearing. Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing related to zone change requests and replats within this agenda. The public hearing will be open to receive a report from staff, the applicant, the adjoining property owners affected by the applicant's request, and any other interested persons. Upon completion, the public hearing will be closed. The commission will discuss and consider the application and may request additional information from staff or the applicant if required. After deliberation, the commission is asked to consider and act upon the following request and make a recommendation to the city council if necessary. Item A. I'll get there. Item 5A, PLZC 2023-0051. Hold a public hearing, consider and make a recommendation on a request to rezone approximately 21 acres of land from General Business District GB and Single Family Residential Agricultural District RA to Apartment/Multifamily Residential District R4, generally located approximately 3,000 feet east of the intersection of IH-35 Access Road and Cibolo Valley Drive, also known as Guadalupe County Property Identification Numbers 68315, 68316, 68296, 68295, 68294, also known as 2204 Den-Ott Hill, 2228 Den-Ott Hill, 2300 Den-Ott Hill, City of Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas. Yeah.
Good evening, Commissioners. So this is for PLZC 2023-0015, a 21-acre zone change from general business and single-family residential agricultural to apartment multifamily. Emily Delgado, Planning Manager. So the subject property is outlined here in green. This is IH-35, some additional points of reference. This is the Evo movie theater, Bussey's flea market, and then again, the subject property here outlined in green does extend all the way to the 35 access road, down, and then to this larger chunk here. It's approximately 21 acres, currently undeveloped residential agricultural land. On August 30th, 21 public hearing notices were mailed to the property owners within 200 feet of the subject property. At this time, we've received 7 responses in opposition, 5 responses in favor. 2 of those responses were for one property. When the staff report was published on Friday, we did have a neutral response. Since the publication of the agenda, that neutral response has been withdrawn. And then 2 signs were posted on the property for tonight's zone change request. So if a proposed zoning change is protested in writing and signed by the owners of at least 20% of the area of the lots or land immediately adjoining the area covered by the proposed zoning change or zoning map amendment, and within 200 feet of that area, in order to take effect, the affirmative vote of at least 3/4 of all members of the City Council is required. At the time of this presentation, the total percentage of the protested parcel acreage is 36.7%. Therefore, when this item goes to City Council, that 3/4 vote has been triggered. Now, keep in mind that 3/4 vote is not required, the supermajority is not required for the Planning and Zoning Commission action. Just wanted to note the opposition percentage so when this item does go to City Council. Here is the zoning exhibit that was submitted by the applicant. You can see this is the existing zoning, the front piece is that general business, and then the remainder of the property is the single-family residential agricultural. And then on this side, the requested R4 apartment multifamily. So going into the zoning a little more, this is the City of Schertz zoning map overlaid on an aerial image of the property and the surrounding properties. So some items to note. The blue color is that general business. You can see there are several general business properties in the area. The purple is a planned development district. This is actually 2 separate PDDs. And then the yellow here is that single-family residential agricultural, and then this is gray, which is manufacturing light. And again, that subject property is outlined in yellow. So going into even more detail about the kind of surrounding developments in the area. So the first one I want to note is the Bussey's flea market here, which is immediately adjacent to the access from IH-35 to the larger portion of the subject property. It's currently zoned general business and has a comprehensive land use plan designation of commercial campus and single-family residential. The next one is the EVO development, which is zoned PDD with a base zoning of general business, and the comp plan designates it as commercial campus and single-family residential. The next portion here is called Schertz Station. That PDD was approved in 2022, and this portion specifically here, you can see below this right-of-way designation, this portion here it's zone PDD with a base zoning of R4, the apartment multifamily, and will develop as multifamily. Additionally, to note, that area is designated as as single-family residential as well. Moving kind of across the page, this is a larger parcel that's owned by SCUC-ISD, zoned M1, and the comp plan designation is single-family residential. Going kind of around the subject property, again, this is that property. Freeway Manor, it's zoned general business. Comp plan designation is highway commercial, commercial campus, and single-family res. And then this is a commercial development as well that's zoned GB, but has a commercial designation of commercial campus and single-family. So, kind of putting all that into one slide, in the vicinity of the subject property, there are several properties that have the single-family residential comprehensive land use plan designation and are zoned for commercial, industrial, or multifamily with, plan development district with the base zoning of multifamily. The proposed apartment multifamily residential R4 zoning district is consistent with the general business zone properties and PDD zone properties designated for multifamily. Additionally, the subject parcel is immediately adjacent to a 101-acre tract of land that is zoned manufacturing light. The proposed R4 zoning district would act as a buffer between the commercial and industrial and the residential. So this is the comprehensive land use plan overlaid again on that same aerial. You can see the subject property here outlined in blue. All of this yellow that you see is currently designated as single-family residential. The pink is commercial campus, and then the darker red is highway commercial. So you can see from the previous discussion how the Schertz Station piece, that is completely single-family residential. That's the multifamily chunk. The single-family goes on to EVO, onto the Bussey's property, onto the commercial, and then onto the Freeway Manor properties as well. So in 2002, the comprehensive land use plan identified the subject property as commercial campus and industry, technology, and R&D. The subject property was not modified with the 2013 sector plan. However, in 2017, Ordinance 17S20 amended the portion of property identified as industry, technology, and R&D to the current designation of single-family residential. And then again, that portion of property that extends from IH-35 Access Road is that commercial campus. So going into what commercial campus, again, it's that first 1,050 feet of the subject property, really just that access down to the larger portion. It's a commercial campus, which is mostly office, research, flex office, and supporting uses, light industrial, and then it also includes allowing multifamily. So the commercial campus designation supports multifamily as well. So the single-family residential category within the comprehensive land plan, and I want to read kind of the whole paragraph that talks about single-family residential as that land use designation. So single-family residential, conventional detached dwellings. For areas proposed to utilize a traditional neighborhood design, the single-family residential use may include a mix of residential uses, as well as limited commercial development to support the daily activities of the development. In all single-family residential use areas, public and semi-public development, such as schools and churches, are encouraged as neighborhood focal points. So the majority of the subject property is identified as that single-family residential, as I showed on the last slide. And then again, that single-family residential use may include a mix of residential uses as well as limited commercial. The City of Schertz has historically interpreted this to include multifamily apartment as that mix of residential uses. So the comp plan does support the proposed zone change to apartment multifamily. And I apologize on the formatting on kind of the headers. We'll take care of that. The Planning Division has recommended approval on several multifamily projects, zone changes that the comprehensive land use plan designation designated the property as single-family residential. So this is to provide some support that this isn't the first time that we're making a recommendation of approval on a multifamily within a comprehensive land use designation of single family. So to bring it up again, Schertz Station is approved via Ordinance 22S44. It's located approximately 700 feet west of the subject property, and 29.09 acres of that is designated as single-family residential and was approved to be rezoned to PDD with that base zoning of apartment multifamily, and is going to develop as 318 multifamily units. So 700 feet to the west of the subject property, there's going to be a 318 multifamily unit development. Another example is the villas at Bluebonnet Ridge. This is, we're all fairly familiar with this project, but approximately 25 acres. Again, identified it on the comp plan as single-family residential. This property has requested to be rezoned to a planned development district 3 times. The first was for a PDD with a base zoning of apartment multifamily R4. The second was for a PDD with a base zoning of townhome. And then the most recent was a PDD with a base zoning of 2-family residential. And again, the Planning Division recommended approval on all 3 of these cases as they would provide for that mix of residential housing that the comp plan describes. So going into the staff analysis on the zoning, so the existing zoning single-family residential R4 per UDC Article 5, Section 2155 is intended to provide for areas in which agricultural land may be held in such use for as long as is practical and reasonable. Residences in this district are intended to be on a minimum lot size of a ½ acre. The district is suitable for areas where development is premature due to lack of utilities, capacity, or service, and for areas that are unsuitable for development because of physical restraints or potential health or safety hazards. So to kind of go into that, the UDC states, in such use for as long as is practical and reasonable. The subject property is located 1,500 feet from IH-35. 600 feet to the north is property zoned for general business. 340 to the east is property, again, zoned for general business. Immediately adjacent is 101 acres zoned for manufacturing light. And then again, to bring up Schertz Station, 700 feet to the west is property zone PDD that's going to develop as multifamily. The existing single-family residential agricultural is not consistent with the surrounding land uses and the zoning designations. If other properties in the vicinity that are currently zoned single-family residential agricultural, if they came to the city and requested a zone change to apartment multifamily R4, the Planning Division, again, would recommend approval based on the surrounding land uses and zoning districts and the conformance with the comp plan. Same thing if the properties in the vicinity were to come and request a zone change to general business, that would also be supported by the comprehensive land use plan, as single-family residential is intended for limited commercial development as well, and staff would make a recommendation of approval. So with all that, based on the surrounding land uses and zoning designations, along with the comprehensive land use plan designation being intended for a mix of residential uses, staff is recommending approval of the proposed zone change from GB and RA to apartment multifamily residential R4. And the applicant is here and would like to make a presentation.
Thank you, Emily. Good evening. Ashley Fairman, Killing Griffin and Fairman. Nice to see you all. I will be making a presentation. Emily did a great job and was very thorough, so I'll try not to be too repetitive. But again, here's the site, and we can skip over that. But Emily did a really good job of describing other uses and other zoning in the area, and I think that's a lot of the reason why we're requesting multifamily here. So, she told you about everything that's coming, but I do want to talk a little bit about the multifamily that is to the west. That is the purple at the bottom of the plan there, the PDD with the multifamily. So that is intended for multifamily use. It will be a rental community, but I don't know if you recall, but it is going to be single-family rentals, so individual units. And I just want to point that out because what we're proposing is different, and we think it's a use that's needed in the area, and Schertz is growing, and we think it's a housing product that's in demand. So it's just traditional market rate housing apartments is what we're proposing with the R4 zoning. And so one thing she didn't touch on that I do want to talk about a little bit is the major thoroughfare plan. So, the city obviously has goals for roads and connectivity, and one of those, or 2 of those, actually cross by this property. So I'm actually going to go back really quick. So if you see on this slide, there's a blue dashed line, and I don't have a pointer. Does this work? Yeah, there you go. So this blue dashed line here, so that's the extension of Rips Chrysler. So right now it goes through Cibolo Crossing, and then we'll cross Cibolo Valley, and then this would be a new roadway construction with this project here. It's a collector street. And so right now, the blue line is just a line on a map, the city's plan, but where that road will actually be located is shown here. And so then that road will cross school district property, and then ultimately go up north, and I'll show you that in a second. And the other road that I want to point out is a north-south arterial, so an even bigger road that will connect Old Wiederstein to 35, ideally at this 2252 access point. So in the middle of this, you can see the 21 acres here, and then ultimately this is at Rips Chrysler Extension. So it's kind of, this is where it would end with that PDD, the Schertz Station PDD, and then extend through school district property, and then ideally it would go up to the north. And then this is that extension from the 2252 down to Old Wiederstein. And I point that out because they both touch our property. And so I know access is a question for this site, and I'll show you a site plan in a moment, but a couple of the, So access points, so there is an access point from I-35, but then in the future there would be this connection to Rips Chrysler, and then also in the more immediate future probably will be the connection to Old Wiederstein. So here's the conceptual site plan that we're proposing, and you can see on here the apartments. They are proposed to be 3-story apartment buildings. As you know, we're asking for the R4 zoning. We're not requesting a PDD today. We don't plan on asking for any variances. So we will have the 8-foot masonry wall that surrounds the project. We're adjacent to single family, 20-foot landscape buffer on the outside. It will be a fully gated and secured community. We will also have to comply with the new parking standards that have been adopted, as well as I believe there's a 20% open space throughout the project. So all of those will be met. This is, again, a conceptual design, and when we move forward, we would work closely with city staff on the site plan review prior to, or I guess concurrent with platting. Oh, sorry, do you want to show you one more thing? So right now we do show on the southern side an access point to that north-south connector. That would be, right now it's proposed as secondary access, and that would be a road that has to be built in order for this project to occur, so we would need to take on that. And then this is currently showing an access point going north to 35. And this is the conceptual plan. I just wanted to share with you all some project renderings. Again, market rate multifamily. I'm happy to answer any questions about the project, but I do know you're considering zoning, so I don't want to go into too much detail unless you'd like me to. So some example renderings, and I think with that I'll stop. We do have our project engineer Jason Link here with Kimley Horn Engineers, so if there are any engineering specific questions, he can answer those. I think there may be some other questions related to the project that come up before or after a public hearing. I'm happy to respond. Thank you.
Okay, it's 6:24 now. We'll open the public hearing. I've got 3 names on the list, and they're all referenced to talk about this item on the agenda. So first on the list is Sandra Ott. You come forward, please state your name and your address for the record, please.
Sure. Hi, I'm Sandra Ott. My address is 18780 IH35 North, number 3 and number 5. I have 2 properties. I took time off work to be here to implore the commissioners to reject the rezoning of the rural land adjacent to my family's homes. A vote to allow apartments near our front yard would devastate the lives of our families who have lived here for generations. I came home Friday, September 1st to find a zone change pending sign on the land adjacent to our family's home and property. I had no idea that Marstan Development, Inc. was intending to put an apartment complex about 100 feet away from our homes, with the average complex being about 250 to 300 units. The use of this land is incongruous with the surrounding area. The land has been in the family for over 100 years as rural and agricultural. Rezoning for apartments does not fit. Potential health and safety hazards exist due to its historical use as a dump of the land. The required infrastructure is non-existent. I'm concerned about increased crime, loss of privacy, decreased home values, and how will we access our own property? The Densberger land is not adjacent to any streets with sufficient capacity to carry the increased traffic generated. Our private road connects to IH-35 feeder road, but is far inferior to city streets. Apartments should not be located where they would increase traffic through single-family neighborhoods and should be located adjacent to streets with sufficient capacity to carry the increased traffic generated. I'm also concerned about the drainage. I would like a guarantee that the development will not create drainage problems for us. Are there any proposed plans for providing public schools, streets, water supply, sewers, or other public services and utilities to the area? In the Master Thoroughfare Plan, goal number 3 is preservation of existing transportation network. Objective P3, manage roadway congestion and increase mobility and safety for all roadway users. The zoning would contradict that goal. Goal number 2, local character preference. Objective S3, provide transportation investment and procedure that helps enhance traffic access circulation, walkability, bikeability. This is not possible for the Densberger land in that location. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the list is Adam, is it Sharp? Please state your name and address, please.
Adam Sharp, 2233 Denot Hill. Just to piggyback on exactly what Ms. Ott said, I mean, she literally reiterated exactly what I was going to say. So part of the zoning that's in this area, they're using the use of the private road, right? So we all have private easements. Nobody, I'm not going to sign away my rights to that road. So what future roads she plans on using, what they plan on using, aren't built, right? And half of that, the future streets are built on Ott land, and I think there's 3 of the 4 are in protest of this. So there's that. So, right, so under the current city's under the city zoning ordinance, right, there should not be located in an area where they would increase the traffic through single-family neighborhoods. Also where it's zoned, right? So we're talking about commercial zoning versus residential, so in between. So if we're gonna feed off of the 35 road, so what y'all's plan has is normally commercial, multifamily, and then single family, right? So my house falls between 35, between the north and the south. So that kind of goes against some of the codes that y'all have. Like I said, Ms. Ott did a great job, clearly opposed to this. I'm a developer, right? I develop for a living. I don't know if y'all know who I am, but I'm developing in Schertz, and I just think multifamily is not right for the city of Schertz. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Brenda Ott.
Serving our city that I've lived in, and this family's been here since 1800. So
Can you please state your name and address?
My name
please?
is Brenda Ott, and I live at 2217 Den-Ott Hill.
Thank you.
So I wanted to present the same items that Sandra and Adam spoke about, but I'd also like to add the fact that with the city development, all the wildlife has moved to, we've always had wildlife, but it's all there. And I would propose that we have a study, because we literally have owls and skunks and deer and every kind of wildlife in our yard, in the acreage surrounding us. And I believe there might be some endangered species that are there. So I think I would like to ask that a study be done for that. And then I also spoke to your planning manager a couple weeks ago about some of the information presented to the public. And I know the appraisal district is not accurate when you look at property lines, but when you look at the map that she showed and sent out to the public, we have areas where we have water lines for people that live out there in Den-Ott, and we actually own part of that road that comes off of Access 35, that it's not been addressed. And also, I'm not presenting everything probably correctly, but the listing agent assured the executor of the Densberger that that access road at 35 would not be used for traffic. And I spoke to him yesterday evening, and he said Daryl Keller told him all along that that access road would not be used for his apartment complex. And now we are learning that it is. And it comes with all the problems. We have a hard time getting emergency services to our road. We have a hard time getting out on the access road. I think everybody understands that 35 is a mess in this area. And so with the wildlife, with issues, with the infrastructure, with boundary lines not being exact, I know that Harold Dinsberger spoke to the company that bid on this property, and he thought that he owned the whole road up there, and he doesn't. Our road, our property actually extends out of our fence line to that road and beyond. And so there's a lot of discrepancies that we would like solved before you rezone. If I could ask for a delay so some of these issues can be resolved. And I thank you again.
Thank you. I think we can entertain if there's anyone else that didn't sign up that wants to speak on this item. Okay, where'd she go? Emily, would you like to address any of these comments or anything? Okay. It is 6:32. Public hearing is now closed. Commissioners. If you have any more comments, Emily, feel free.
So I'm happy to have Ashley come back up and talk about access for the proposed development. I would say, right, we're here tonight for the zoning specifically, so always appreciate the conceptual plan pictures, but keep in mind, it's truly, the action tonight is, are these 21 acres suitable and should they be rezoned to apartment multifamily R4? That is the question. Staff, based on our recommendation and information provided, staff is recommending approval based on the comp plan, identifying, mix of residential uses, which is consistent with what's previously been done.
Commissioner Carbone.
Is there a property dispute going on with some of the property and who owns what? Because if there is, maybe we should table it until that's
So
over.
it's my understanding that the map in question, this map was generated by our GIS department using the shape files that they have received from Guadalupe County. That is how this map is generated, based off of Guadalupe County shape files that they share with our GIS department.
Awful quiet up here, Commissioner. Any more comments?
Will the access road on the far right of the property have to be completed before the apartments are done?
So I would say, right, tonight's action is just for the zoning piece. So if the zoning gets approved, then we would move into the plating process and we would evaluate any right-of-way dedication requirements, what would be constructed, during the site development process for the site plan. Our fire marshal would also look at, 2 points of access for emergency services. So at this point, final determinations of which access points and all that have not been discussed or made.
Okay.
But if the zoning were to be approved and they moved into that next process, then it would be, formally discussed.
Okay, thank you.
I think Emily and staff have explained it quite well. We are to take action and make a recommendation to City Council. So if there are no further comments from the commissioners, I'll ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve PLZ C 2023-0051 as requested.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. McMaster and a second by Mr. Ray to approve PLZC 2023-0051. Any further discussion?
Mr. Bro, just a point of clarification. Remember, we're not taking final action, so it's not to approve, but it would be a recommendation to City Council to approve the item.
I'll correct my motion.
Okay,
So recommend approval then as the motion, correct? Okay.
that's what we're doing. All right, I hear no further comments. Call for the vote, please. Publish the vote. That motion is approved, 7-0. Item 5B, PLZC 2023-0170. Hold a public hearing, consider and make a recommendation on a request to rezone approximately 14.3 acres from General Business District GB to Single Family Residential District R2, located approximately 483 feet from the intersection of Green Valley Road and Eckert Road, also known as a portion of 4600 Eckert Road, Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas, also known as Guadalupe County Property Identification Number 63998 and 7263 Green Valley Road, Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas, also known as Guadalupe County Property Identification Number 153815.
Good afternoon, Commission. PLZC 2023-0170, a portion of 4600 Eckerd Road and 7263 Green Valley Road, 14.3 acres, Daisy Marquez, planner. So here you can see the subject property that is being rezoned in green. The applicant is proposing to rezone approximately 14.3 acres of land, which is a portion of 4600 Eckerd Road and 7263 Green Valley Road to single-family residential district. The subject property is currently zoned general business district and it is currently undeveloped. And here you can see Green Valley Road and then Eckerd Road, and you'll see here that we have the notification map, and on August 28th, we had 9 public hearing notices mailed. We received 0 in opposition, 0 in favor, and after the agenda was posted, we received 1 neutral, and 2 signs were posted on the property. So here you can see the zoning exhibit, and just to reorient you, here is Green Valley, and then here is Eckerd Road. So again, a portion of 4600 Eckerd Road and then 7263 Green Valley Road are currently zoned general business. To the north, on the remainder of 4600 Eckerd Road, we have R2, and then we have R6 above that. Over here to the right, we have Eckerd Road right-of-way, and then we have general business. To the south, we have Green Valley right-of-way, and over here to the left, we have general business, and it's currently agricultural and undeveloped. So again, the current zoning is general business and the proposed zoning is single-family residential district. And per the letter of intent, the applicant is wishing to rezone the remaining portion of the property to match the already zoned R2 on the northern portion of the property. The intent for the property is to build single-family homes. And according to the current comprehensive land use plan, it identifies this property as single-family residential, and single-family residential is meant for a mix of residential including detached dwelling units with a traditional neighborhood design, which may include limited commercial development to support daily activities. And the proposed zone change to single-family residential would be in conformance with the intention of the single-family residential land use designation. So again, the proposed rezoning to single-family residential district would be consistent with the existing surrounding uses, and the northern portion of the property was already rezoned in December 2022 to single-family residential with ordinance number 22S42. And the proposed rezone to single-family district is compatible with the adjacent land uses, will match the current zoning of the property, and aligns with the intent of the comprehensive land use plan. So therefore, staff is recommending approval of the proposed zone change from general business district to single-family residential R2. Any comments or questions? And the applicant is also here to answer any questions you may have.
It's another public hearing, right?
Yeah.
It is 6:41 p.m. We'll open a public hearing. Anyone wish to comment on this item B? Please state your name and your address for the record.
How y'all doing? My name's Jason Lund. I live on 4190 Eckert Road. So you guys are changing the property that basically joins mine, or that's right next to mine, to single-family residence. What does that mean exactly?
Good. Go ahead, yeah.
Go back to the map so we can kind of look at it together. So the property that's outlined here in the blue, that's currently general business, which is a commercial zoning designation. They're requesting single-family residential R2, and really what they're trying to do is create this entire property here outlined in yellow as a residential subdivision.
Okay.
So that would be the ultimate intent if this general business piece does get rezoned to the R2, would be develop the whole thing as a residential subdivision.
Okay, and will that affect me as a general business property?
So is your
That's my property, correct?
So it does not change the zoning on your property at all. You received the notice. Per state law, we have to notify everybody within 200 feet, but it does not change the zoning on your property. You can continue to use your property the way that
Okay.
you are.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Anyone else? 6:43 p.m., public hearing is closed. Floor is open for city staff for any more comments and commissioners. I don't hear any comments. I'll call for the vote then. Excuse me. I'll call for a motion. And as before, this is a vote to make a recommendation to City Council.
I make a motion to recommend to City Council that we approve PLZ C 2023-0170.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Ray and a second from Commissioner Goldick. Any more comments or discussions? I hear none. I'll call for the vote. All right, publish the vote. The motion is approved, 7-0. Item 5C on our agenda, PLPDD 2023-0127. Hold a public hearing, consider and make a recommendation on a request to rezone approximately 0.21 acres of land from Neighborhood Services District NS to Plan Development District PDD located at 4571 Schertz Parkway, also known as Guadalupe County, parcel ID 31981, generally located northwest of the intersection between Schertz Parkway and Wiederstein Road, City of Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas. And notice that we cannot take any action on this due to a noticing error, and Mr. Haas will explain.
Evening, Commissioners. I'm just going to give a brief sort of presentation on what the applicant was trying to do, but as Commissioner Bro said, there's no action to occur on this. So here's the subject property. It's 0.21 acres right off of Schertz Parkway and close to Wiederstein. So this was the original PDD. It's outlined here in red, all the parcels that you see in purple there. This is the applicant's master development plan. And the property in question is just pointing right here to this red arrow. The applicant was proposing to add it to the existing PDD, but as stated, there was a noticing error, and there can be no action to occur tonight. But this is a public meeting or a public hearing, so we have to go through this.
Are there any presentations or none? Okay. 6:47 p.m. Public hearing is open. Anyone present wish to make comments, ask questions? I see none at 6:47. Public hearing is closed. If that's it, we'll move on. Thank you. 5D, PLUDC 2023-214. Hold a public hearing, workshop, and discussion and possible action to make a recommendation on amendments to Part 3 of the Schertz Code of Ordinance, Unified Development Code UDC Article 4, Section 21.4.12, variances in Article 9, Section 21.9.7, landscaping, and Section 21.9.9, tree mitigation. Mr. Haas.
PLUDC 2023-0214, UDC amendments to Article 4 variances, and Article 9 landscaping and tree mitigation, Samuel Haas, Senior Planner. So I'll just preface this by saying that these amendments are in order to help clarify sections of our UDC and help them more align with the local government code. The first one is from Article 4 variances. This is an excerpt from our current UDC, Section 21.4.12a. A variance shall not be granted to relieve a self-created or personal hardship, nor shall it be based solely on economic gain or loss, nor shall it permit any person a privilege in developing a parcel of land not permitted by this UDC to other parcels of land in the district. So I want to focus on that solely on economic gain or loss. In the local government code, Section 211.009B1, you'll see on, this is verbatim, basically the language out of it, and you'll see on, in relation to structures, the financial cost of compliance is greater than 50% of the appraised value can be determined as in granting variances. So staff is proposing to essentially take this section of the local government code and add it to our UDC section criteria for approval. This is what we're proposing here. We're gonna basically add number 5 there, and then everything verbatim out of the local government code. The next section that we are proposing to amend is in relation to tree caliper minimum requirements, caliper being how big around the tree is when you're planting it. In the local government code section 212.905, the state has a minimum tree planting requirement of 2 inches. Anything above that is eligible for mitigation credits. And so in our current UDC, section 2199D, we have a minimum planting requirement of 2.5 inches. So we are building into our UDC a credit system already, just automatically. And so we are proposing to lower that to the state minimum of 2 inches. And we also have sections in our landscaping that also include the minimum of 2.5 inch caliper. And so in order to create some consistency in the UDC, we are proposing to just lower all minimums to 2 inches. It also helps us, as well as applicants, to determine which trees are eligible for mitigation credits, which ones they're trying to do for landscaping. It just helps everybody get on the same page. And then the last thing I want to mention is that you'll see right here that it says measured at 4 feet above ground. The industry standard for when we're measuring this caliper is called diameter at breast height, DBH, which is actually 4.5 feet. And so we are proposing to amend that in our UDC as well to just sort of match what the industry already does. So for some, we have it at 4 feet. We're proposing to bring it up to 4.5. So just to wrap it up, summarize here, we're proposing amendments to Article 4 and variances and 2 sections of Article 9, tree mitigation and landscaping. Staff is recommending approval for PLUDC 2023-0214.
Too much to do. Thank you, Mr. Haas. This is a public hearing, so at 6:51 p.m., public hearing is open. Anyone present wish to make comments, ask questions on this item? I hear none. 6:52, public hearing is closed. All right, commission.
Sounds
Again,
like
we're
common sense to
making a
me.
recommendation to City Council.
Sounds like common sense to me.
I'm guessing this is getting you in line with codes that are above you, correct?
And what do you mean? Like
You said you're getting a lot of your
Uh,
codes with the local governments.
the state local government code, right, with Texas law.
Too easy.
Okay, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of PLUDC 2023-0214 as recommended.
Wait a second.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. McMaster and a second by Ms. Commissioner Goldick to recommend City Council that we approve these. Any more discussion? I hear none. Please cast your vote. Publish the vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. We'll move on to item 6A. Items for individual consideration. PLFP 2023-0209 waiver. Consider and act upon a request for a waiver to the Unified Development Code Section 21.14.1, streets subsection K, half streets and adjacent streets, in order to not construct the 2,800 feet of the adjacent David Lack Boulevard in accordance with the Master Thoroughfare Plan for the IDV Schertz subdivision, approximately 119 acres of land known as 22867 IH35 Schertz, Comal County, Texas, also known as Comal County Comal County Parcel ID 75290.
Good afternoon, Commission. PLFP 2023-0209, waiver for the IDV Schertz final plat. Daisy Marquez, planner. The property outlined here in green is currently undeveloped and located approximately 2,150 feet northwest of the intersection of I-35 and Hubertus Road. And here's I-35 and here's Hubertus Road. So the applicant is proposing to final plat approximately 119 acres of land in order to establish one buildable lot for industrial use. And the applicant is seeking approval of a waiver to the requirements of UDC section 21.141K, house street or adjacent streets. And again, this would require the proposed subdivision to build one half of any planned street from the master thoroughfare plan abutting the subject property. The subdivision plot demonstrates dedications of right-of-way for the planned commercial collector, David Lack Boulevard Extension, which requires a total planned 70 feet of right-of-way. And again, in this proposed subdivision, IDV would be required to construct one half of the approximately 2,800 feet of the proposed commercial connector. And with the recent legislative changes, Texas House Bill 3699, Section 12 does not allow for municipalities to require dedication of land or construction of roads that are not already in a funded capital improvement plan. Engineering has reviewed the waiver and supports the applicant's request, and due to recent legislative changes, staff is working to update the UDC to comply with these changes, and the applicant is dedicating the right-of-way for David Lack Boulevard. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of PLFP 2023-0209 waiver as presented. And the applicant is here to answer any questions you may have too.
Thank you. Commissioners? Another long arm of the state.
Ms. Marquez, so correct me if I'm wrong. The state basically said we can't do this anyway if he wanted to enforce it, correct?
From what I understand, essentially, it says, sorry, let me read exactly what I said in my staff report. It says, municipal authorities responsible for approving plots are no longer allowed to require dedication of land within a subdivision for a future street or alley that is not intended by the owner of the tract, are not included or funded or approved in a capital improvement plan. So essentially, if it's not already funded in a capital improvement plan, we can't require people to do it if the owner doesn't want to.
And it's not funded, correct?
It's not funded, sir.
Sounds like an easy one. Thank you, ma'am.
We'll note that the developer is going to donate the right-of-way, so that's a big plus in this situation. Because according to what you read, that's not required either. So that's a big plus in this case. We have final action on this, right? Commission, any more comments? Any questions? All right, I'll call for a vote. Call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve PLFP 2023-0209 waiver as presented.
I'll second that.
Who did it? You did?
Me.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Ray, Commissioner Ray, and a second by Commissioner McMaster. Any other comments or questions? I hear none. Call for the vote, please. Publish the vote. All right, motion passes 7-0. Next item on the list, item number 6B, PLFP 2023-0209. Consider and act upon a request for approval of a final plat of the IDV Schertz subdivision, approximately 119 acres of land known as 22867 IH35 Schertz, Comal County, Texas, also known as Comal County Parcel ID 75290.
Good afternoon. PLFP 2023-0209, final plat, IDV Schertz, Daisy Marquez, planner. So again, here's a subject property outlined in green. It is approximately 2,150 feet northwest of the intersection of I-35 and New Britters Road. And the applicant is requesting a final plat approximately 119 acres of land in order to establish one lot. The subject property is currently zoned planned development and manufacturing district light. And here is the final plat. I'm kind of just stay here, the plat is about 8 pages long. The site will be serviced by the City of Schertz for water and sewer, Cibola Creek Municipal Authority, Centerpoint Energy for gas, CPS, Spectrum, AT&T, and NBU. The property will be serviced by the City of Schertz for water through a 12-inch water line. The property will be serviced by the City of Schertz for sewer. There's an 8-inch line along the east of the property and a 12-inch line along the west. A drainage report has been reviewed and approved by the city engineers, and the applicant is requesting a waiver to UDC section 21.14(1)K, but is still dedicating the right-of-way required for the future expansion of David Lack Boulevard, the proposed east and west connector from the master thoroughfare plan that is identified as 70 feet of right-of-way. And here is the plat. So again, the proposed final plat is for 119 acres for one buildable lot, and it's currently split between manufacturing light district zoning and planned development district. So the proposed final plat is generally consistent with the applicable requirements, ordinances, and regulations for this property. The final plat has been reviewed by no objections by fire, engineering, planning, and public works. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of PLFP 2023-0209 IDV Schertz final plat. Any comments or questions?
Thank you. Commissioners? Okay, we saw this a few months ago. This is the final plat. No further discussion. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve PLFP 2023-0209 as written.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Carbone and a second by Mr. Ray. Any more comments, discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote, please. Publish the vote. All right, the vote is 7-0 for approval. All right, moving on to item number 7, requests and announcements. Item A, request by commissioners to place items on a future planning and zoning agenda. Good night, thank you. Okay, item B, announcements by commissioners. Nothing. Item C, announcements by city staff. Nothing. Item 8, information available in the Planning and Zoning Commission packet. No discussion to occur. Item A, current projects and city council status update. Y'all, nothing to say? Okay. No further business on the agenda. Item 9 is to adjourn at 7:04. We are adjourned.